In the 2025 NRL season, every single NRL fan is filled with anticipation and excitement, hoping that their team will crack the finals in 2025 in the next NRL season. But let's talk about where they should finish. We're going to start off with the Cronulla Sharks, who obviously I think they should be finishing in the top four. They have the last couple of seasons now, and there's no excuse why they shouldn't again this year. They've actually got a stronger squad, in my opinion, anyway, bringing in Adam Fanua-Blake. They've also got the monkey off the back in terms of being able to win in the finals. Obviously, that was something that was a bit of a detriment to them for a little while there, but bringing in Adam Fanua-Blake as well, that extra strike in the four-pack. Nico Hines a bit more experience there. You've also got guys like Braden Trindle who know that they can take over when it's needed. But you've also got Will Kennedy at the fullback spot. His spot isn't necessarily solidified. You've got guys like Liam Ison as well as Cade Dykes coming through the ranks as fullbacks. So they could be stronger again coming into the finals if one of those two guys do manage to break through into the Cronulla Sharks starting side. But yeah, for me, the Sharkies, they've got to be top four. And honestly, it's probably this year. I feel like for this group of players, is nearly now or never. They've been at it for a little while now. They've managed to just be building up year and year, stacking up players, that sort of thing, and getting a little bit better every year. But they made a prelim last year. This group needs to make a grand final, and if they this is probably going to be the last year that they have in terms of being able to win a comp with this group of players. So we'll see how they go. But yeah, for me, the Sharkies should be finishing top four. Then we go over to the Raiders. Now, obviously, they've lost a bit more experience again this year. No Elliot Whitehead, no Jordan Rapana. Both those spring to mind. I feel like they've lost someone else that I can't remember. Even like you've got Josh Papali'i's aging out and that sort of thing. But even still, I've got them finishing between, like, let's say 8th and 12th, like that lower part of the bottom 8, as well as like down into about that 12th position there, because Ricky Stewart always seems to get the best out of his players and motivates them and get like that sort of thing. Like on paper, their roster's probably one of the worst ones in the comp, but in terms of like this, like they've got really good coaching and good systems, and Ricky Stewart can get the best out of his players. They've got a great young crew of younger players there, so if they can still be competitive, it's going to be great for their footy heading to the 2025 NRL season. But one thing I know like never to do now with the Raiders is rule them out. Like I had them getting the spoon last year, it definitely didn't do that. A lot of people they've got them as the second favourite for the spoon this year. I don't think that's the case. Like unless they get smacked with a lot of injuries, which touch wood they don't. I don't see any reason why they won't be in and around the finals hunt again in 2025. Then we go to the Rabbitohs. It's interesting, this one. I've got them between 6th and 10th because they've got a finals footy roster, and now they've brought Wayne Bennett back in. There's no excuse for them not to be winning games. Although it's very tough, they've like a lot of stuff to be turned around at that club because geez, they underperformed massively last year. They come second last. Like they shouldn't be doing that with that roster. And can Wayne Bennett really like fix everything that's wrong there in one off season? I'm not sure. From what it sounds like, because there's a lot going on, and I don't like. Yes, he's a miracle worker, but this might be a stretch too far for him. So yeah, I think the Rabbitohs, like again, similar to I want to say about the Raiders, if they can stay healthy and keep everyone on the park, then there's no reason why they shouldn't be back in the finals with Wayne Bennett there. But yeah, I've got them between 6th and 10th. Rabbitohs fans, let me know what you guys think about where you think you should be finishing this year. Then we go on to the Newcastle Knights. Now this one, like they're probably my biggest swing side. So like this year, in terms of they can either go really well or really, really poorly. So for the Knights, I see them finishing somewhere between 5th and 17th. Yep, bit of a fence sitter there, but like we've seen, this team can reach 5th. That's their ceiling. Like that's how good they can play. But I just have a feeling that was a bit of a one-season wonder. Adam O'Brien's a little bit lost in terms of who he wants to be playing out in the field and like how they're meant to be playing. And I can see that if they don't have the best start to the season, that potentially his job could be on the line, which I hope for his sake it's not. But I think the change at the Knights probably wouldn't be the worst thing. And I feel like if Adam O'Brien is to get the sack, then a lot of stuff is going to change at the Knights. And I feel like, and I'm not saying that Adam O'Brien is the reason that Callum Ponga is in Newcastle, but I feel like if that's like Callum Ponga could see that as sort of a window to get out. We do know that there's a big cashed up giant in Sydney that potentially could be looking for a replacement fullback the next couple of years, and probably have identified Callum Ponga as a long-term solution for that plan. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried that things could, like, Because honestly, at this stage, there's no like real glaring team for me for the wooden spoon, and I feel like it's going to take a season like what happened to Eels or the Rabbitohs last year, where things just sort of blow up a little bit for a club, and just unfortunately I could see that happening for the Knights. Then we're going to the Parramatta Eels, who showed a bit of a renaissance this year under Jason Riles. I've got them finishing anywhere between 7th and 14th. I think if they played to their potential, they could be playing finals football in like 2025, but we don't know what the potential is. We don't know how Jason Riles is going to play their football side. There's a lot of what ifs here, and I think that maybe it could take a year to sort of gel into it, and then 2026 and beyond they make the finals, a bit like how the Bulldogs went when Cameron Ciraldo arrived. Although I think the Eels are in a much better position than the Bulldogs were when Ciraldo arrived. But in saying that, there's a lot of new faces there, new systems, that sort of thing to adopt. It might take half a season to start gelling, just the way it is. So yeah, for the Eels between 7th and 14th, I think they'll be there or thereabouts, competitive for a lot of the season. But it's just sort of a couple of things, like depending how long it takes them to gel, and also like whether they just sort of taper off towards the back end of the season, just because, I don't know, a bit of fatigue, that sort of thing. And we got the Storm, top 4, probably going to get the minor premiership again this year. Very, very good. They just got stronger again heading to the 2025 NRL season, and personally, I think they're the favourites to win the comp this year. Yeah, honestly, that's all I've got to say about Storm. Sorry, Storms fans. I don't know how many of them you are, because you're all AFL guys down there, but yeah, not much to say about you guys other than you're really good. Then we go to the Titans. Again, a bit of a swing side for me. Got them 7th to 16th. I do think they have a really, really good forward pack heading into the 2025 NRL season, which is awesome, and Des, you get the best out of them. But it's just the spine combinations for me that's the worrying sign. A little bit similar with the Knights. Is that you just, like, I look at it and you can make 3 or 4 different halves combinations for them. And you sort of, I mean, I guess it can be a bit of a blessing and a curse. I just think it's like, at this stage, yeah, okay, you've got what, Keanu Kinney, AJ Brimson, Jaden Campbell, and Carter Gordon all sort of vying for 2 spots. I guess Carter Gordon probably could be a 7, but do you want to chuck him and Campbell out there? At the moment, I feel like Kieran Foran, that old head, is like would really be a benefit again this year, but you can't rely on him because his body does break down a lot, and it's probably going to be his last season, I feel, anyway. Just get that vibe from Kieran Foran. But yeah, the Titans, man, like, if everything gels and clicks well, they'll make the finals, no doubt. But it's just whether it will. I've just, yeah, little bit of concerns regarding that. And yeah, I feel like, personally for me, I think they've just got to make a judgment call on either getting rid of AJ or getting rid of Jaden Campbell, especially with Carter Gordon there now, because he's probably the future, to be honest, Carter Gordon. So you've just got to say to one of those 2 guys, like, it's been great, but it's a business. And it's as brutal as it is, because like, I can't see either of those 2 guys playing at any other club apart from the Titans. But yeah, I just think moving forward, especially with the salary cap that like either of those 2 guys are chewing up, and that's why I probably think AJ, lean towards AJ, a bit more sort of injury prone, that sort of thing, a bit more like on a bit more coin. You might have to give him the tap on the shoulder and say it's time to look elsewhere. We're just going a different direction, because unfortunately, like, and Titans fans are probably yelling at me, screaming at me right now, but it hasn't worked. So it's time to try something new, in my opinion, anyway. Then we got the Roosters, who I have in a very, very similar spot to the Titans. I think they're going to finish somewhere between 7th and 15th. Could be a tough year for the Roosters. Lost so much experience from last year. Like, you've got Joseph Swaliti, who's he's played about 50 NRL games, but still. The big game guys, you've got Satila Tupanula's played 100 plus NRL first grade games. Joe Highgrave's played 1,000. Luke Keary's played 1,000. You also got Joe Manu played 1,000. Like, that's so much experience just all going in one season. Yes, they've still got a fantastic roster, and a lot of really, really good players, a lot of representative players. They're still going to be very competitive. But to start the season, their halves are going to be Sandon Smith and Chad Townsend. That's a bit of a far cry away from Luke Keary and Sam Walker. Obviously, Sam Walker and Brandon Smith are probably back around that round 10, 11, 12 mark. And then things look a lot better for them once they come back. But yeah, it could be a very, very slow start to the season. Also, the outside backs, a little bit injury prone here and there. Especially, I feel like either Billy Smith or Robert Hoyer is going to be starting in the centres there, who both have had pretty extensive injury crisis there. It's just like, I don't know. It feels like a little bit of a changing at the guard at the Roosters at the moment, where they've just got they're just letting go of a lot of players, like having a bit of a blank slab, having a pretty clean salary cap, and then rebuilding that up. Obviously they've brought in Reece Robson for 2026, which is crazy, but I feel like that's not going to be the only signing that the Roosters make over the next couple of years. So yeah, I feel like the Roosters this year. Not that this year's a write-off because they're still going to want to be competitive. I don't think they're expecting to win the comp this year, which you probably couldn't say about the Roosters for the last couple of years. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. I think, personally, a bit of pressure on Trent Robertson this year if they don't go too well, but that's just me. Then we go to the Warriors, the first club here, and I think the only club that I've got actually that I don't see them making the finals this year. I've got them between 10th and 17th. I just think after last year, I had a bit more hiccups and sort of a bit of fractures started to sort of open up. I think Andrew Webster obviously is going to be working hard at fixing those, but I think the main one is the fact that they have lost SJ. Obviously, still got Tomato Martin there, and Luke Metcalf has put his hand up and said he wants to be the organising half moving forward. You also you just got Tanner Boyd can do a job. Jet Cleary, I feel like, personally for me, is too young. Give him a couple more years to develop, then he'll be a gun like his older brother. But yeah, it's just not for the right now. And I can say them just struggling a little bit. I feel like with the Warriors, sorry, they moving forward, they might need to have just players together for a couple of years and then just really clean out the roster again and do it, because just I feel like the travel aspect for them is just so much, because they've got a different time zone as well, and they're just back and forth all the time. You see those guys that they especially the Aussie guys, they come over for a year, kill it. In the second year, they always seem to struggle a little bit, like a bit of second year syndrome, which I think the Warriors struggle with on the whole. And honestly, I do feel like if everyone plays well, there's no reason why they can't play finals footy again, because we know how good they can be. But I'm just a little bit worried without a recognised seven who's going to be there for the majority of the year, because I feel like the other guys that play in the halves are quite injury prone as well. I've just got a few reservations at the Warriors. Hopefully that surprised me, but it could be a tough years for Warriors fans again. Then we go to the Brisbane Broncos, and I've got them finishing anywhere between 1st and 8th. They have to be making the finals in 2025. There's absolutely no reason why they shouldn't be. The team is sensational. Their roster, the news has come out today that Ezra Man's going to be back by round 10, which personally I think is a bit of a joke, but it's just, that is what it is. That's the facts. So they've got their full strength squad from round 10 and beyond. Michael Maguire coming in there to instill some action. This team just needed to be coached properly. If they were coached properly in 2023, they would have won the comp. That's all I'm going to say. So, look, if everyone can start firing again and have some passion and enjoy their footy, Broncos could definitely be a force to be reckoned with. I think, again, their squad's just got a year older, a bit more experience, brought in Ben Hunt, who can cover up and plug so many holes. So, yeah, I feel like Broncos absolutely will be making the top 8 this year and could finish in any of those spots, and I wouldn't be surprised. Then we go over to the North Queensland Cowboys. So they're going to finish between 3rd and 12th. Yeah, again, fence sitting. I think just when everyone's on song and they're playing well, their attack is scintillating. Obviously they've lost your Val Holmes and your Kyle Feltz and that sort of thing, but the core of the squad still remains the same. They've got a good young crop coming through. Just defensively, I'm still a little bit worried about them. We'll have to wait and see whether they can sort of adjust to life outside of those guys who are a little bit defensive liabilities. But even you got a Scotty Drinkwater defensively, just probably almost even effort wise, just left a lot to be desired last year. And that's not me trying to just single out Scotty Drinkwater. That's trying to just the Cowboys as a whole. You could probably say that for. I do think, again, with this squad, obviously Reece Robson is about to leave. It's pretty now or never for the Cowboys this year, and I feel like that's going to be their motto heading into this season. Tommy Dearden was electrifying last year for the Queensland and for the Kangaroos, and I think he's just going to be he would have learnt so much off those tours, off the camp last year, and I feel like he's just going to come back twice as good of a player, and that's why I think the Cowboys have a shot at making the top 4, because Tommy Dearden is just so good. Don't really have a recognised 7 there. Jake Clifford, for me at this stage, would probably be the guy that gets that first spot, but they've also got Jackson Purdue as well as Thomas Duffy, I believe his name is. A couple of good halves coming through there, so who knows what could be happening for the Cowboys this year, but yeah, it could be a bit of an up or down year for the Cowboys. I'm not too sure. Then we go to the Panthers, who again will be in the top 4. A lot riding this year though on Nathan Cleary's health. Obviously, the last 3 or 4 years, he's always had maybe 6 to 8 weeks out on the sideline, whether suspension or due to injury. But yeah, I think Nathan Cleary, if he's fit for the majority of the year, just because, like, I say that because last year and previous years they've had guys to step in and just sort of make up for it a little bit. Everyone playing a little bit harder. But if you got Blaze Talangi as your 6, it's a big ask for him to like take over a lot of the role and responsibility that Nathan Cleary is doing as well. Obviously, they've still got Brad Snyder there at the club. I think Jack Cole as well. Like Penrith, even though they've lost Luai as well as James Fisher-Harris, they've still got an absolutely stacked roster, and they will be there and thereabouts again in 2025. Then we go over to the Dolphins. I've got them between like 7th and 15th. We've seen them the first 2 years in the comp, for like halfway through the year, they're in the top 4. They've got it in them. It's just about being able to do it for the whole season. Obviously, losing Wayne Bennett is a big loss for the Dolphins, but I think overall, like Kristen Wolf, he's been there the whole time. It was part of the process. Like they knew the whole time that Wayne Bennett was going to be there for 2 years, and then it was Christian Wolf's succession plan. Like last year, I feel like Christian Wolf would have had a lot of input in this squad. There's a fair few Tongan boys who play for the Dolphins, who Christian Wolf head coaches. Like, he knows what he's doing. Like, he's a little bit different to a first-time NRL coach, rather than like your Jason Rileses and your Cameron Serratos, and there's someone else I'm trying to think of as well. The first-time NRL coach, I'm a little bit, how you going? Where Christian Wolf's been coaching for ages. He's earned his stripes. He's got his reps in. He's gone away and head coached international stuff. Like, we've seen that he can coach. We've seen he's pretty good. So I'm not too worried in that sense for the Dolphins. It's just more in terms of like their squad depth, which always sort of comes into question. Like once we've had a few injuries, origins, suspensions, that sort of thing, the Dolphins, the wheels can fall off a little bit. But I'm hoping in 2025 for the Dolphins, that is a bit different, and they can actually make the finals for the first time. That'd be nice to see. Then we've got the West Tigers. If on-field stuff takes care of itself and everyone, like all the off-field stuff just disappears, I've got the Tigers finishing between 8th. Yes, that's correct, Tigers fans. 8th and 13th. I think they're going to be a lot more competitive this year, bringing in, like, their signings are just honestly unbelievable. For a club that's got 3 wooden spoons in a row, to bring in Jerome Luai, full-time premiership winner in a row, Terrell May, Taruva. You also got Gerald Skelton. Like, these guys are just honestly sensational. And obviously, there's a couple of things that got to go right for the Tigers. Like, Lockie Galvin do not have second-year syndrome. Samuel Lafano do not have second-year syndrome. Like, all these guys just keep getting better. Because, geez, the team's going to do a lot of film on Lockie Galvin this year. Like we've seen before, rookies burst into the scene, and then they have a quiet second, third year and come back up, or they just, like, honestly fade away. But I don't think Lockie Galvin has that in him. He's just too competitive, just from everything that I've heard him talk about. Jeez, he's a fantastic player. But I'm really excited about the Tigers this year. I don't know if they're going to make the finals in 2025, but they're going to be more competitive again. Like, they've actually got a pretty good roster this year. Even like bringing in Royce Hunt as well. Like, they've just beefed up in all areas. Their outside backs probably still leave a little bit to be desired, like in terms of like the centre department. But overall, Tigers should be the goods this year. We'll see anyway this year if Benji can coach or not. That's all I'll say. Then we go to the St. George Illawarra Dragons, who I think, just from what I saw last year and their roster changes going into this year, I've got them between 6th and 10th. I think they'll be same area as last year. Thereabouts. Building for a big 2026. We're going to see a lot of, I think anyway, a fair few of these good crop come through from juniors, play a few NRL first grade games, get a taste of it and that sort of thing, go back to Cup and develop their game, and then be better in 2026, 2027 and beyond. The tough bit is the fact they got no Ben Hunt, no halfback, essentially. Although in saying that, when you look at when the Dragons had Kyle Flanagan last year, he was suspended for the last 3 games over the old biting gate. Dragons then capitulated and didn't win a game after that. Everything else stayed the same. Lomax was still there. Ben Hunt was still there. Those 2 guys that have now left. But Flanagan was literally the only missing piece from that was Flanagan. And they just literally blew up. So maybe is a lot more important than we realise. You also bring in Gutho, Val Holmes, and Cook, 3 players who played Origin within the last 2 years. 2 guys in Gutho and Cook that have played grand finals and are hungry to get back there and taste success before they retire. Obviously, Val Holmes has won a comp for the Sharks under Shane Flanagan. So, I do think the Dragons will do one better this year and make the finals. Hopefully, that's not just my Dragons tinted glasses on, but yeah, I think people like time and time again write off the Dragons. Like again, they're favourite for the wooden spoon, and I'm here predicting that they might make the finals. But I think Shane Flanagan's too good of a coach for them to get the spoon. I think they'll be competitive once again. Like he took like the roster he had last year to get to where they were with that is ridiculous. Like their team's a lot better this year. Got rid of some dead wood, brought in some good quality players. Yeah, I think the Dragons, will be alright. Then we go over to the Manly-Warringah Seagulls, where I've got them finished between 3rd and 8th. I think like top 4 is definitely their ceiling, and I can't see them missing the finals. I don't think, like unless like something drastic happens and Tom Trbojevic is out for the whole season and Cherry Evans gets injured. I think they're a bit more well covered if Tom Trbojevic is to get injured again like this year, because we do see him like year after year. He's going to miss some time. He honestly might even be under like some sort of like load restriction, like load management this year. I don't think that would be the worst idea for Manly to do, to be honest. Like if they go to a club that's struggling, just rest him, keep him on the park. Yeah, anyway, that's a story for a different time. But I do think Manly are a good side, 1 to 17. Their 4-pack's probably just a little bit subpar from the big dogs, but when you've got guys like Cherry Evans and Tom Trbojevic that are just so brilliant, they can just beat whoever's in front of them. It's honestly quite scary. So yeah, if they hit form, Manly could be a smoky for the comp, to be honest. But in saying that, I do think they're probably going to be a little bit more competitive than last year. Like, I don't think they're going to get beat by 40 in the finals this year. So yeah, 3rd to 8th for me, for Manly, feels right. Then the last one is the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs, who I've got sitting in the same spot, 3rd to 8th. I think, again, they're just going to build off what they did last year, maybe potentially make top 4. Like, again, I don't see any reason why they'll be any worse than last year. They've got like very similar players, similar defensive structure. Everyone's just sort of buying in. Obviously, Serrato's going to make a little bit of tweaks. Whether that might be to the detriment of the Bulldogs, I'm not too sure. I can't imagine why it would be. But yeah, obviously a team's going to study the Bulldogs a lot from last year to this year. So hopefully the Bulldogs are ready for that. I like the Bulldogs didn't even in their plan of how they were going to build up. They didn't expect to go as good as they did last year. That was for this year and beyond. So I'm very excited to watch the Bulldogs how they go this year. Yeah, again, I don't see any reason why the Bulldogs won't be in the finals in 2025, and I don't see why they won't be there in week 2 or 3 in 2025. So that's where I think every single NRL club is going to be finishing in 2025. Let me know where you think your club's going to finish, whether you agree with what I said or whether you disagree. Make sure you drop a thumbs up for more rugby league content and subscribe again for more content in the 2025 NRL season. Hope everyone has had a good holiday period. Don't forget to Scotty, drink your water, and Bradman, do your best.